What is going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 21 of Clips and Dip, the first actual regular season preview of the year. Cannot
Feels
wait.
good.
It feels so good. Clippers basketball is back on Wednesday. I am Chuck Mockler, joined by Adam Ozen and William Updike. To all the new listeners, come hang out. We're going to be doing, 3 episodes per week usually. If you've been with us hanging out in the off season, we love you so much. You can find us anywhere you find podcasts and on YouTube at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. We're talking Clippers versus Suns. That's about it today. Very excited for Clippers basketball to be back. But before we get into it, Adam, Will, how the hell are you two doing on this beautiful Monday evening in Los Angeles?
I'm good. A few people weren't happy with me last night. And by a few, I mean like one or two. But
Okay.
I will not give in to the the madmen screaming at me that Kawhi's going to play on Wednesday. And I'm a dumbass.
He'll be back. He was at practice today. He watched.
Didn't you see?
That's
he was talking with Dante
practices.
Jones. That's the same thing, right?
Will,
so it's all good.
How are you? Are you being attacked on Reddit?
About the same. A lot of people are mad at me. I left like a full steak at a restaurant last night. And yeah, a bunch of people were yelling at me.
You paid for it though, so that's good. Let's get into it. Clippers versus Suns. No pun intended. I did not mean that. It is the regular season opening for the Clippers' new arena, which is very exciting. Starting five for the Clippers, in case you've missed it: James Harden, Norm Powell, Terrence Mann, Derek Jones Jr., Ivica Zubac. The Suns will be starting Tyus Jones, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Nurkic.
Who? Never heard of those guys.
Couldn't tell you.
They knew?
Adam, Will, what do we see going right? We're going to talk about the bench in a bit too. What do we see going right for the starters on Wednesday?
It's time to clamp down, baby.
Clamp down.
What do you think, Adam? Is this the test? Is this the test that this new defensive identity for the Clippers needs?
Yeah, we're gonna find out if it's our year right off the bat against Phoenix.
Yeah.
This is the test. It's a pretty stiff test. I think defensively it's asking a lot, but they're up to the challenge. I was listening to audio from Terrence Mann earlier today at practice, and I thought it was interesting that he said he's going to be the guy picking up the ball most of the time or being the head of the snake defensively, not Derek Jones Jr. That was kind of note, since Derek Jones Jr. typically was thought of as the better on-ball defender. But Terrence Mann was asked by Law Murray about what he can improve on from last season. He was obviously really good in that series against Luka Doncic, but overall it was a little bit up and down with his defense at times last year.
Sure.
And he said he learned a lot. So, I mean, he's a good defender. I guess that means he's going to pick up Tyus Jones some, who is a pretty darn good addition, by the way, from the Phoenix Suns. Monte Morris coming off the bench, I think, is also a sneaky good acquisition if he can stay healthy. So for a team that was looking for more playmakers and guys to handle the rocks so they could just get it and into the hands of their stars and let them create from there, that's not a bad roster for this Phoenix Suns team. It's just about health with them a lot of the time. So similar stuff with the Clippers.
Sure. I like how Terrence Mann was talking about how him and Derek Jones Jr. might kind of be switching off at picking up at 94 feet. I like the multiple look possibilities there for our defense. Will, what are you most, I guess, excited about to see for the defense? Because, like Adam said, this is a brutal test to start the season off of without Kawhi and with a new guy and a whole new defensive scheme going on.
Well, I mean, I think the scheme is like what I'm most excited to see. I mean, obviously, I'm hoping that the, like energy on the defensive end that we saw from Norm Powell is going to carry over. Certainly, we're going to see what Van Gundy has been able to do to, get James Harden effective there. We know that there are ways he can be an effective defender. It is going to be a tall ask, though, to expect a whole lot on that end with all that he's going to be doing for this Clippers offense, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in just a second. But it's something you got to do. You got to get him in those spots, especially like in the post. He's got to have active hands, getting deflections, getting that getting that transition offense running. But I'm curious to see how they're going to make it work, because as we have talked about, this is kind of a small team. Luckily, the Suns, smaller backcourt as well. So you have some, you have some stuff there that they can't punish you in the same way that I envision some other teams in the West being able to kind of punish this smaller lineup. So yeah, really excited just to see that energy and effort sort of carry over from what we saw. And we'll see. We talked about it so many times last year. It became like a cliche, like what the identity of this team is. They're still finding it. They're still building it. We know this year, right? Like it's been talked about. They've leaned sort of one way, which I'm excited to watch. But we're gonna know opening night, like if the money is where their mouth is, I suppose.
Yeah, we need the James Harden strip club, as Justin Russo points out. It was very active hands in the preseason, which is awesome. Yeah, like we mentioned, Adam, you're just talking about Terrence guarding Tyus Jones. So Harden's who are Harden and Norma?
Somebody's on Booker. Somebody's on Bradley Beal. Now, I'm guessing Booker brings the ball up a lot. KD brings it up sometimes. It's not just going to be Tyus Jones, and maybe he'll pick him up and then switch onto one of the three top guys scoring wise on their team. I don't know. Norman Powell's definitely going to get tested early on. We know they're going to go after James Harden and try to pick on him. Maybe early in the season with James not being run down much because he's had to do so much on the offensive end is a better opportunity for him to show off some of the quick hands and just better defensive instincts like we saw when they went 26-5 during the 31 game run. Like he was better. He can be better. So Norman Powell's been challenged all offseason by the coaching staff. Coach Lou talked about that again the other day, saying like, you can't hide it anymore. We know it's there. We saw it against Phoenix in the 2023 playoff series. He keeps going back to that, saying Norman Powell was really good defensively there. And obviously, the last 3 games of the series, no Kawhi Leonard, no Paul George throughout it. So they have enough. I like what Will said. They are at least smaller guards that are looking to get in the mid-range, and they're not so much explosive scores with getting downhill and driving past you with Bradley Beal anymore and Devin Booker. It's over-the-top jump shots, and the Clippers' size, they do match up decently against Phoenix. We talked about it last season too. Like, we like the matchup against Phoenix overall. Of course, we were talking more about Kawhi Leonard being available, but it's still, while it's a tough task, it's certainly not impossible opening night at Intuit Dome for the Clippers to get a victory against them.
Yeah, and a lot's going to be on Zu too, right? Like, I mean, they're going to I think they're going to try and make Zu work out a lot too, because we mentioned the fatigue, or not the fatigue, is he able to do it on both ends type thing. So I think the Suns are going to go to him.
Adam thinks Zu is soft, conditioning-wise.
We've established that.
In case you're new to the show.
Offensively, I'm curious. I think that is my word of the first couple weeks of the season for the Clippers offense is I'm curious as what the offense is going to look like. Harden and Powell were plus 9.1 per 100 possessions when they shared the floor last season. Something fun that I learned. Powell and Mann minus 2 in their per 100 possessions, which was interesting. But yeah, I guess I'm hoping for a really efficient pick and roll and that Terrence Mann takes more threes.
Yeah, I want to see Ivica Zubac touch the ball in the post 3 out of the first 5 possessions, honestly. Go to it right away because that is a matchup advantage. While he hasn't had spectacular games against Nurkic, feel like that just means he's due. Nurkic is not that great of a defender. No. Zu can win that matchup against him, and obviously Mason Plumlee coming off the bench or Bol or whatever else they try. Feature Ivica Zubac, wear them down because the Suns, like the knock on them last season was physicality. Yeah. And it always kind of has been with Kevin Durant, which is why I always felt like Kawhi Leonard's the better player in a playoff series because it gets more physical. I'd rather have him. KD's still great. But if you're nitpicking a little bit, you can say they're more finesse than physical. So lean on them a little bit, push them around, get Big Zu going, high pick and roll, he and James Harden, start things off that way. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, Zu averages 10 and 8 against Nurk in his career.
And I think what's his high, like 19 points? And
his high is 19, and that was in the last game against Phoenix. He had 19 and 8 and 3 times.
I need 20 plus from Zu Wednesday.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like, the blueprint
Agreed.
to me is what they did in game 1 against Dallas, and they have better guys to guard Ivica Zubats, but they went to him early and often, and he had that 20 and 15 game and was the best player on the floor for the Clippers in that blowout.
Will, who are you most looking forward to starting wise? I guess other than James Harden, because he's going to have a lot to do to see offensively on Wednesday.
I mean, I think this is a really big opportunity for Norm, and this is a really big opportunity for Norm. So I'm excited to see what he can do with this. And this is what he wanted. We know what he can do in that 6-man sort of score first sort of role. We know how good he is, how lethal he is off ball. So I'm really excited for him to step into this lineup and be what we need offensively. There's no two ways around it. With no Kawhi, obviously, never a Paul George again, which
never a Paul George again.
Plus and minuses.
An inconsistent wind, that Paul George.
We are gonna need. We are gonna need every bit of Norm Powell. So I'm really excited for this opportunity for him and see what he does with it.
And he can be a tone setter too. Norm can come out and just make his first 3 threes type thing. You know what I mean? Like, he can be a bit. Obviously, it's Harden's offense and stuff like that. But if Norm can get it going early, that helps the spacing issue, right? That we're all so worried about. So yeah, hot start from Norm would be great.
It's rough, obviously, not having Kawhi Leonard, because all offseason we're like, how do we make up for the 22 or 23 points per game from Paul George? And now it's like, how do you make up for the 47 points per game that are being missed? Like, I don't know if Norm can average that. I do. Somebody was hitting me with some stats last night when Norman Powell is in a starting lineup throughout his career. He's been getting over 20 points. He's been efficient. Like, that is the quickest path to making up for some of the production loss from Paul George on the offensive end, at least.
Yeah.
I do have hope for that. And Norm is ready for this moment. He's been asking for it for a long time, as the coaching staff keeps reminding him. You got to play defense, though, now, too, if you're going to do all this on offense and start.
I like that they were doing we saw some footage from the one-on-ones at practice today from Law, which was cool. It was like Harden and Norm going at it. So they're working at it. Like, they are working on the defense. What do we see maybe not going well with the starting fives for the starting 5, for the Clippers?
I don't know what their turnover numbers ended up being, but obviously James Harden probably had an inordinate amount of turnovers in the preseason, and that can't
7
happen.
per game or something like that.
Yeah, I don't expect that to continue, of course, but
Right.
They were a little bit clunky at times with the turnovers, and I think it was covered up by the fact that they were getting so many defensively that we forget they also, outside of one game in the preseason, were averaging 20 turnovers per game themselves.
That is a good call. And you can't turn over against this Phoenix offense. We don't want to give the 4-man lineup of Booker, Beal, Durant, and Nurk outscored opponents by 9.5 points per 100 possessions last season. We can't give them free field goal attempts, especially when, if you're me, you're worried about how the Clippers are going to get enough field goal attempts to kind of compete with this Suns team. Will, what are you worried about about the Clippers and the Suns, or in general?
Just in life. Oh man, don't even get me started on the unbearable lightness of being. Anyways, what am I worried about in this one? I mean, you bring up the turnovers. I think that's really. I think that is one of those things to look out for. This team cannot shoot themselves in the foot. The thing that's so difficult is the way this team has to execute is unlike any other year, since the 2-1-3 era, like that, we have zero margin for error anywhere. So the way that this team like has to execute, if this is in fact our year, like many of us believe, a lot. There's many of us out there. There's many of us out there.
Dozens of us.
I was polling people while I was out there in Vegas. It seems like a lot of people are convinced this is our year.
Big Clippers.
Sportsbook was they were saying to hammer that over.
Yeah, they were giving us advice in Vegas.
But we're just gonna have to see. Like, there's not gonna be. We've already talked about this, but there's not gonna be any 10-game sample sizes. Like, there's very little margin for error, and so I'm so happy that we got a full training camp with James Harden and the majority of a season under his belt. We know now that he has the keys and to the offense. So I think that they can do it. Like, I think that it's possible. It just is a very tall order the first game out the gate, and the first game in a new arena where, you know, so many fans are paying so much more money and are so excited. But there is, you know, there's kind of a lot on the line game one, and I do think that that is something that I'm worried about. Like this, you know, this ain't just a this ain't your normal regular season game, I guess is what I'm saying. So that has me nervous. Yes.
That's a good call. Yeah, it's gonna, man, it's the crowd. I'm so excited to see the crowd, the full capacity, the full volume of Intuit. Rebounding, another thing, not going to be easy. The Clippers, I think they were in the 20s in their defensive and offensive rebound percentage in the preseason, which is not ideal. So they got to figure. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know if they're gonna I don't know. I don't think they can be a top 10 rebounding team.
It's going to be really hard. They need Derek Jones Jr. and Terrence Mann to essentially like double their career outputs at boards for the most part, like when Kawhi's out.
That's a real deficiency, I think, on this team that could be glaring immediately. Although Phoenix was not a very good rebounding team last season. They were last in offensive rebounding percentage.
Oh, wow.
Last in the league. They were kind of brutal there. And I think, you know what, that was actually during this preseason. But overall, I want to say the Phoenix Suns, even with Frank Vogel last season,
right,
they weren't a great rebounding team. In fact, they were, let's see, 20th. Now, the Clippers were 24th in defensive rebounding percentage. Overall rebounding percentage, Phoenix Suns were a little bit better than that. Damn, they were 7th. Scratch it all.
Oh, shit.
They didn't have Tyus Jones there trying to get boards.
Sure. Yeah, it's going to be, Terrence Mann, it's just more, right? We just need more of everything from Terrence Mann is kind of who I'm looking at. Derek Jones Jr., because he's new, I think we'll get a bit of a let him figure it out, get used to it from the fans specifically. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Terrence to grab more boards and shoot more threes. But yeah, the boards, and that's what freaks me out about the field goal attempt discrepancy. If we're giving the Phoenix Suns an entire extra quarter of field goal attempts, this one's going to be difficult to win. And how you do that is you don't get boards and you don't give yourself extra possessions, right? Offensive rebounds are huge for this Clippers team, are going to be huge again, because we don't have a super clear idea of what the offense looks like. So being able to get ourselves second chance opportunities is going to be so important against this team. I'm a little terrified for this game, but I'm very excited.
I think that's one of the keys of the season right there. Offensive rebounds with this Clippers team. That may tell you a lot about their win-loss record. Just where were they at in offensive rebounds that night? It could be a true tell of how they're competing out there, because it is going to be difficult. Kawhi's a good rebounder, but even when he's back and playing the 4, that's still not ideal. It's still not perfect. Ivica Zubac's a good rebounder, but right now playing next to Derek Jones Jr., you're not going to be able to out-rebound most teams. You're just not. Terrence Mann has to crash the glass, and it was an emphasis. We saw it, especially, I remember we were watching the game in Honolulu against the Golden State Warriors, and we were kind of keying in on whether or not Terrence Mann was making that more of a focal point. And he was boxing out really well. He's capable. If he makes an emphasis in that area, or I guess improves, then they could be okay. But I don't think they could be much better than okay, honestly, on the board this year. Just with it's a roster issue. It's not like there's a trade-off. You bring in all these guys that are good point of attack defenders on the perimeter. That doesn't necessarily mean they're good rebounders. Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr., Batum's okay, but that's not what they do.
Yeah, and we can't be looking to 17th year in the NBA Nico to be our rebounding spark. No disrespect to Nico.
It's going to have to be PJ.
Hey, still on the team, baby. Will, anything else you're maybe worried about the starting 5 before we get into the bench talk, which is kind of interesting?
No, I hope the facial recognition stuff works. It seems like they've gotten that smoothed out. Just for everyone entering and exiting into it. I just want everybody to have a good time. Okay? All right.
That makes sense.
Is that so wrong?
Yeah,
I'm the bad guy.
I hope people aren't getting charged for extra hats or anything like that on opening day. All right, coming up, we're going to be talking the rest of the Clippers rotation versus the rest of the Suns rotation. Maybe some weird lineups we're going to see Ty Lue try. If you're watching us on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast, we're still going to be here. If you're listening to us on audio, we got a quick audio break, and then more Clippers versus Suns talk coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome back into Clips and Dip. My mic was muted, so that was pretty cool. So sorry if there was a weird pause. If you're watching this on YouTube, there was definitely a weird pause because we never go away. So you should follow this show, subscribe, turn on those notifications. That's over at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Anyways, we're looking forward to the first Clippers game of the season. It's here, fellas. It's actual basketball time. We talked a little bit about the starting lineup, some of our concerns, some things we're most excited about. Now it's time to move on to the bench, which, as I alluded to in the last segment, this is not the depth we've become accustomed to as Clippers fans. This is not the the wealth of riches that we've known in past years. But Charles, what is something that you are looking forward to from this bench rotation? Who could be a standout? What are you hoping to see game one?
We talked about the rebounding. We've talked about Zu being important. Kai Jones has weirdly kind of a lot on his shoulders as the Clippers backup.
Me likey where you're going.
I'm feeling nicey about Kai Jones. But shout out John Gruden. Kai versus what I'm assuming is going to be Mason Plumlee in this game. I want him to run him off the court, but I don't know if I'm excited to see Kai Jones. I don't mean that disrespectfully. He improved a bunch in the preseason. This is the test.
Adam, your retort.
He just has a lot to take care of.
Let Charles.
He just has a lot to take care of when Zu's off the floor, and it's different than preseason basketball. We'll see what happens. Adam, how are you feeling about the center situation?
That's what we got to work with. And I feel much better than I did game one with him in the preseason, but the lights are going to be a lot brighter. He's going to be going up against more consistently better competition. He did get some the last couple of games against Dallas, against the Sacramento Kings, but even Mason Plumlee was a guy he wasn't seeing early on in the preseason. The Brooklyn game, they had nobody available, and Kai was dunking all over him. Can't take a lot away from that. But yeah, I agree with you. He's got to do what he does best, not get outside of himself, beat his man down the floor, get some tough rebounds, be in better position to do that, and set better screens. He said something interesting yesterday. He gave a really good, a high-level basketball answer to Justin Russo, talking to him about screens and basically getting at, why aren't you being more physical with them? Because Kai has talked about how some coaches are like, as soon as you see the man being behind the ball handler, you get to the rim. So it's not just because he's, botching every screen. It is by design some of the time. Why he's rolling there so fast, because he is that quick and can get behind his defender. So I'm intrigued. I'm excited. It may only be 10 minutes at most in the game.
Right.
Might be less, a lot less. I don't know. I can't wait.
You're telling me Zu is going to play 38 minutes?
I think they may play some small ball.
They get Nico at the 5?
If Bul's out there I think they can definitely play some small ball.
Yeah.
Because he plays a lot on the outside. He doesn't typically punish you.
Yeah, that's a good call. Will, how are you feeling about kind of our backup guards? We got KPJ, we got Dunn, we got Coffee as half of a backup guard.
Yeah, I'll count him as half of a backup guard.
Half and half Coffee.
Yeah, see, there we go.
I'm very excited for Dunn. Like we talked about, I think something that's really interesting to me about this bench is sort of the mix of youth and athleticism with some really solid, consistent vets. And we know what we're gonna get from Chris Dunn. I'm not, expecting anything too crazy there. But at the same time, it's gonna be very needed, that defensive presence. I'm curious to see how much they use him off ball because they did that a lot in the preseason. I don't know if they're going to let him initiate a little bit. It depends, on how the rotations work and how often KPJ is out there with him. But I'm excited for Dunn and for all of the Dunn heads out there in Clipperdom who have been clamoring for this move for, what feels like forever, but at least the last 3 seasons. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's been a really long time that people have wanted Dunn on this team.
It's been a minute. Yeah, and the Suns.
It's felt like a done deal for a long time. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right, we are in mid-season form here on Clips and Dip, which I do appreciate from all of us. Yeah, the rest of the Suns rotation. Adam, you brought up Monty Morris. They got Josh Okogie, who's a guy that I like, who can be really annoying to play against in terms of getting buckets. Grayson Allen, who is very annoying, but very good at basketball.
They're not like your typical top-heavy team. Like they actually kind of got some dudes now in the depth department.
For a team that's over the second apron, it's like, wait a second, how'd they do this?
Right, it's a pretty well constructed team.
Adam's gonna pour through those tax returns. Something's not adding up. Something's not adding up.
I don't know about this.
Real Capone situation, boys.
Yeah, KPJ is going to be interesting. Also, for those of you, I'm sure, wondering about the KPJ investigation, as long as the league's investigation is happening, he is eligible to be on the Clippers roster. So he'll be off the team or whatever that's going to be ruled when that's over with. So unless something gets announced between 6:10 p.m. on Monday the 21st and 7 on the 23rd, KPJ is going to be needed to get some buckets quickly from the bench is my best guess.
Yeah. I was told last night on a live that the investigation's over and you don't have to worry anymore, but I just don't think that's true.
Who told you that?
Just somebody in the chat, like
a guy.
It would have been suspended by now, bro. No, I don't think that's the case. I think there's an investigation and they're not up against any deadline here. Right. I don't get that. So it feels like it's almost on KPJ watch with what is going to happen. But as long as he's playing, as long as he's available to play, he will play, and he needs to give them a lift. I think there are some positives with this bench unit. I mean, last season when they traded for James Harden, we talked about how depleted it was. You lose Rocco, you lose Batum. They already were without Marcus Morris. Some didn't care about that. But they have more guys, but more unknowns maybe now. Like it could work out that they turn into a decent bench unit, but there's a lot we don't know. I love Chris Dunn. We all do. Amir Coffey looked great in the preseason. Batum didn't play a ton. I wonder how they treat him coming off the Olympics. Yeah, no one's too worried about it. He still has a couple of crazy chase down blocks, like
good passes, connecting things.
But this Suns bench is better than I thought. I got to be honest.
I know, man. When I looked at the roster and looked all down, I was like, oh, shit.
They still have Royce O'Neal too, right?
Yes, I believe they do.
Yeah, I don't like that. If you got Batum out there, you often feel like we can win these minutes. We're going to do all the right things and the little things, and he's going to, make up for some of the disorganized basketball with doing those Batum things because it's the first game and some guys are playing next to each other, but maybe didn't even play on the court with one another during the preseason. So I'm hopeful, but there is, a lot that's going to have to be worked out on the fly.
Yeah, on the fly is key, and thankfully we have the coach who was voted best at in-game adjustments in Ty Lue. Will, what are you hyped for in terms of the mixed bench and starters lineups that Ty Lue is going to throw out with this 10-man rotation we got?
Oh man, I'll tell you, I just don't want to see too many guards at one time. I just want.
I'm sorry, man. I think that.
I just want to get that out there.
Against the Suns, it's not as bad if you got, if they have Jones and Booker and Beal out there. It's like those are smaller guys.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But overall, Olive Garden shut it down.
You don't want the Olive Garden and
board it up.
Yeah, we don't. When you're here, you're not family.
Not an Intuit Dome.
You're not an Intuit Dome, man. Yeah, I think I mean, I would like to avoid a Norm and KPJ pairing. I just don't see that functioning well against this Suns lineup. Offensively, hey, maybe for sure. But Defensively, that's a lot
Yeah,
to
I
ask
mean,
for Zoo.
Norm is so good off ball, but yeah.
I bet it happens.
Oh, I bet it happens.
It's definitely gonna happen.
Like KPJ's defense, guys, in the preseason was good. Like
Yeah.
it was. People can say whatever they want. It was good. Like everybody bought in, and he actually is capable if he buys in because he's got a long wingspan, and there's actually a defensive highlight mix on YouTube with him. Believe it or not, ripping it away from Steph Curry, like taking candy from a baby. It's kind of wild to watch.
We'll need it against this Suns team. Adam, what mixed kind of 2 or 3 man lineups are you most excited about?
Mixed 2 or 3 man lineups?
Yeah, just between.
I want to see Dunn and Norm. Sorry, I didn't really answer your question, but
let's circle back. Dunn and Norm's a great call.
Yeah, I mean that'll work all day. If the idea is to take Norman Powell out early,
which Ty's talked about.
Who do you think's coming in for him in that situation? If he's the first to go out, who's coming in? Is that
Ivica Zubac will be the first sub out. Like
you think Zoo before Norm?
I mean, wasn't that what was happening in the preseason?
I don't go
in the last game that they played all their starters. Zoo was the first sub out for Kai Jones.
Okay, so against Dallas, well, it's either or both at once.
It's Norm or Zoo. Yeah, that's who's going up first. I think who comes on for Norm.
We know who's coming in for Zoo most likely with Kai.
Sure. I think who's coming in for Norm is probably
Dunn.
I would say, does it depend on what is happening in the game? If we're getting killed on defense, it's probably Dunn.
Is KPJ? I mean, like Adams talked about his off-ball shooting numbers. I mean, is that insane?
I think
it might be.
It's insane.
Adam's like,
even for the biggest KPJ.
Look, Coach Lou said for us to be successful, he's going to be a big part of this. I don't know what that means exactly, but.
KPJ,
I think Dunn is the safe bet though. Like I mean, like like I said, he's the sure hand. He's the NBA vet. You know what you're gonna get. Like I think that would make that makes a lot of sense. Is him next to Harden? Like I don't know that I'm that wild about that. Like Chris Dunn he's okay off ball. He's not.
They still have man in, like. He can guard up. I'm not worried about Chris Dunn there. It's just offensively.
That's what I'm talking about. Is offensively.
I
don't know that I love it.
His 3-point shooting right now is on suspect watch. He wasn't very aggressive in the preseason, and we are going off of just an 88 game sample size in Utah where he ended up shooting over 40%. He was never like that before those last 88 games. He's older.
He's what, like a 36? He's what, like a 36% career 3-point shooter, something like that?
I mean, if you take out the last 88, it's probably even lower. Like he hasn't been great there. If he was, I don't think he would have been on the fringe of being out of the league. That's been a problem for him.
He's a career 32%.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes!
You take out the last 88 over 40%.
That's what I'm saying. Like him next to Harden, I don't love it.
And there's some wonky numbers in that too. So in 2020 to 2021, he only played 4 games. So that doesn't really count. 21-22, he played 14 games. I'm kind of those were years where he shot 0% and 0.09% from 3. So those, if you take that out, you got 28%, 32, 35, 26, 47, 37. So it is.
Yeah, we'll call it a gentleman's 36%.
Oh man,
that's gentlemanly of you.
Yeah, that is very kind of you, Mr. Updike.
But like he could be better now. He could, like, I don't know what his catch and shoot stuff is. And will he get more of those shots? I mean, I would imagine he got plenty of that because guys probably weren't guarding him a lot. Even in Utah, even with the lack of talent there, he's conceivably on a more talented team now, even without Kawhi Leonard. But they're going to test, like they're going to make him, Derrick Jones Jr. and Terrence Mann prove that they are knocking down 3-pointers. And that is huge for this team. They got to prove it. And to prove it, you actually have to put them up. And there have been times with all of them in the preseason where they've kind of shied away from taking those shots. That has me a little bit worried.
That's a good call. Sorry, I'm trying to find his catch and shoot stuff.
Not feeling nicely about that.
Not feeling nice.
So, okay, let's say it's not Chris Dunn first in for Norman Powell. Then are we saying KPJ?
Yeah, I think if the shooting is not going how it needs to go, I think Ty Lue will put KPJ in.
So
I mean,
he would
it's
have
like
him-
it's not Amir, you know, like who else could it be really?
Bones. Fucking blow everyone's minds and have Bones be the first.
My
sub
head
off
would
the
maybe explode.
Love it.
If Bones was the first sub in for Norman Powell, I think my head might explode.
But yeah, like
not that
I'm
I'm opposed to it. It would just be
Oh,
so
yeah.
surprising.
And throw us all for a loop. What about KPJ comes in, plays a few minutes, like 2 with James Harden, then Harden gets his sub out. So therefore, KPJ is now running the second unit, or a lot of second unit guys in there. And it's that transition from the end of the first quarter. Harden's out till the 6-minute mark, maybe the second quarter. That could be the plan. I don't know.
Chris Dunn last year, 38.5% on catch and shoot threes.
So he shot 37%
also a
total on
general
all
36.
threes and 38%. So he was taking some off the bounce and hitting those, like,
I guess.
or what they probably was just the majority were catch and shoot. So then the number goes down. Maybe his off the bounce was like, 30.
Yeah. He was
probably not even that.
According to NBA stats.nba.com, it was 1.5 3-point attempts from the catch and shoot variety last year per game.
Yeah.
Which kind of lines up with his total.
He's got to take them. Regardless,
he has to take them. He has to take them. Okay, so we've talked first sub. Second sub is probably going to be Zu, just fatigue-wise. I would have to assume.
He could be first, like Will said. I don't know.
Yeah, but like he's 1 or 2. So it's a guard and then Zu. I'm interested to see what the Batum minutes look like too. I think Amir is going to play a shit ton of minutes.
I like that.
Tomorrow, maybe or on Wednesday. Just again, they are a smaller team. We have Amir kind of can be that tweener.
He can guard all 3 of their stars. He can.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, Tyler has some interesting stuff.
Nothing. Light work.
I'm excited for Amir. Amir could be. You never know. Maybe he's the first guy. He's shot it well, I think, so far in the preseason. He had 18 in their last game. And he shot 38% from 3 last season. Once he got in the rotation.
The bench.
Maybe it is Amir coming in.
This plays perfectly into the. We have a bunch of we have a bunch of like, what are these guys going to be? Who the hell is the first sub going to be? Like, this is like such a good microcosm of this.
Well, I mean, roster. Like I've been talking about this entire offseason. Like, I mean, if you're a real sicko, like this is the year to watch Clippers basketball. There are so many questions. There's good questions. There's bad questions. But there's, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns this season, and to me, it's a double-edged sword. It's scary, but it's also very exciting. This is just not. This is just not the team that we've known, that we've come accustomed to. And it's it's a brave new world.
It is a brave new world.
Because normally it's like, well, who's the first sub? It's Norm.
Right.
It's easy. Yeah, I don't know. Probably KPJ. But I don't know. It could be Chris Dunn. It could depend on what Will said. How is the game going? Do they have a lead? Are they down by 7?
Are we getting
if they're
run
down
off the floor? What do the field goal attempts look like?
Yeah. But that's probably not game dependent in game 1, honestly. There's probably guys knowing what their role is heading in. Like, I'm coming off the bench first, and this is who I'm coming in for. So I don't know. Coach Lue has tough decisions to make. Glad he's doing it.
Yeah,
he's the one.
Not Coach Osland out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. What was it? Dunn, Amir, and KPJ was a 3-man lineup in the preseason that I was quasi intrigued by. There could be some fun stuff there.
I like that. Give me Batum at the 4 with Kai, and I can get with it.
Like, there's that we'll probably see it. But yeah, that I'm worried that I'm looking at the Suns. I'm worried Okogie's for some reason going to go off. I don't know why.
Has he had some Clipper killer like games? Feels like it.
Everyone has. Or stupid Bol again. Bol will just randomly make 4 threes against us.
He's as good as Wemby.
Yeah.
Listen to Shaq. He's as good as Wemby.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I like what Will said. This is a good year for Clippers fans. You can really, there's a lot of guys you can argue for, right? There's no clear
certain Clippers fans.
Very.
If you're listening to this show, you're probably the exact type of Clippers fan that's going to enjoy, or I mean, possibly be incredibly frustrated by this season. But like there's just a lot of stuff to think about. There's a lot of stuff to process. I kind of love that to a certain extent.
And the back end of the rotation, this back 5 that we're talking about, it's pretty even, right? Like it's not like, oh, the first 2 subs are like, obviously, maybe they could even start. Like everyone is a bench guy, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. So you could argue that almost anyone could be the second or third sub on, just based on how this roster is constructed. Good, in a good and bad way.
Well, like. The wrinkle or the wrench in their plans is Derek Jones Jr. picks up 2 fouls right away, and then Batum has to come in.
Fuck.
Like that's the first, could be the first sub. You never know.
That is a good call, and I've wondered about that because if he's going to guard up, he's going to have to be more physical. The whistle's going to really dictate how effective Derek Jones Jr. is. I don't mean that as a knock on Derek Jones Jr., but if he's having to guard up, and like you said, he gets those 2 fouls. Or Zu gets 2 fouls, and then Kai Jones has to come in with like 8 minutes left in the first quarter or something like that.
The whistle's an interesting subject and something to watch early on. How are the officials calling it to start off the regular season? Because we've seen them go through waves over the past 2 years of letting stuff go.
That is a great point. That is a great point.
Like, are they going to carry over from what we just saw in that playoff series against Dallas where anything goes? Street Ball Volume 5? Like,
yeah.
I don't know what we were looking at the first 2 games of that series, but that could, like, obviously it favors the Clippers if they let them play a more physical brand of basketball, especially against a team like the Phoenix Suns on Wednesday.
They got to muck it up. Yeah. The Clippers have to muck this game. I mean, every game. The Clippers, this offense without Kawhi Leonard right now, and when James Harden was off the floor, you got to make it gross. It's got to be not aesthetically pleasing basketball for some of it. And the Clippers were 14th in personal fouls last year. So they weren't bad at fouling last year. They were quite literally average at it. But with this new, renewed preference on blocks and steals and all this stuff, the whistle, we'll see.
I
Who's
like
reffing tomorrow?
Scott Foster, 3 of them.
Tony Brothers, dude.
Yeah, the whistle could dictate a lot. It is the first home game for the Clippers at Intuit Dome. Are they going to get the benefit of the whistle in their first game, or are they going to set the tone early that the Clippers still are not getting the benefit of the whistle ever?
Hey, you're still the Clippers. The refs still want us to know that we're the Clippers. And also, anytime Norm is against like a second rotation, because we've heard about the pick and roll with, him and Zu running the pick and roll or whatever that's going to look like against the second, against subs, they need to build that chemistry up. James Harden against anyone on the bench, I have no worries about. We're going to get nothing answered on Wednesday and have a lot more questions, which will be fun.
It is going to be probably a season where a lot of people are saying, I cracked the code. I found the 5-man lineup. Coach Lou, play these guys together. This is it right here. I found it. It's in 5 minutes so far, a month into the season, that these 5 guys have been on the court together, but this is it. This is what works.
Plus 23? Are you kidding me?
It just seems like there's going to be so many different combinations that you might be able to make an argument for.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, coming up, we are going to give our picks for the first of the season, newly named Kawhi Leonard, James Harden player of the game picks, because we can't just pick James Harden, because obviously if James Harden plays well, the Clippers will win. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're still going to be here. If you're listening to us, we got a quick audio break. And then Kawhi Leonard, James Harden picks, and then we're talking one of our favorite composers coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. It's Clips and Dip, Season 3, Episode 21, as we get you ready for Game 1 of the regular season here in this 2024-2025 NBA year. And we just previewed as much as we could think of with all the different matchups and configurations and bench lineups and starters. But now it's the important part, the James Harden Player of the Game selection. Chuck, do you want to start?
Damn, I have to start. The Kawhi Leonard, James Harden player.
The Kawhi Leonard, James Harden. Out of sight, out of,
I'm going to go, because we need it, I'm going meaty double-double from Ivica Zubac. I'm talking 22 and 13 to open up the Intuit Dome. He gets the game ball. James Harden, obviously, probably with like 9 assists.
It's total bullshit, man. I had that.
Will, who are you picking? Take whatever Adam was going to say for a second.
Man. I'm gonna go Derrick Jones Jr.
Ooh, what do you?
And I'm gonna say
dunks, 3-pointers. What are we talking here?
I'm saying I want to see the 3-point shooting be real. I want to see him be able to contribute to the floor spacing. I want to see the athleticism. Obviously, want to see him finish a couple above the rim, and we're just going to need his defensive presence. So I'm going to go with him. I'm not going to predict the stat line, but I need him to pop. I need him to pop, and I'm going to feel. I'm going to feel even more like this our year. Somehow double our year.
Yeah, this has to be killing you, knowing what's going to happen at the end of the season and still having to go through the regular season and playoffs. You know, you might just check out.
They say the waiting is the hardest part.
Sure. All right, Adam, your pick for the Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, regular season game 1, Clippers versus Suns, player of the game selection.
So do we have to pick a starter? Because I don't know. That's where you guys went. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit deeper then here. Okay. I'm going to go.
This was for the real Clips heads out there. PJ Tucker.
I'm going Amir Coffee.
Hell yeah. I can see
like
it.
What I've seen from Amir. He's being pushed right now. He knows about Jordan Miller and everybody talking about him, which we didn't talk about so far. You never know.
Why would we?
That is true, though.
Jordan gets 5-10 minutes. I don't know. If he shines, you can't take him off the floor. But Amir is holding on to his spot for now. And we love Amir Coffee. I want to see some of that sweet heat from Amir Coffee from 3 and just being a menace defensively. Just patching up different holes in the ship and figuring out how to keep this Clippers team afloat against a potent offense with the Phoenix Suns. I like Amir in this one. I like Amir. Do we get stat line? I'll give out 12, 4 boards, 2 assists, a couple of threes.
Sure, like
Amir
plus
Coffee.
8 or whatever.
Impactful 12. We're talking plus minus like of 30. Plus 30.
Plus minus of 30. Wow, this game's going great for the Clippers. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be awesome. Again, so excited to see just the full Intuit, just the full production of everything, where they're also going to debut Hans Zimmer is riding the track for the Clippers, which is going to be awesome.
He's one of my favorite composers. He's probably my favorite, honestly.
What are your top 10 composers?
Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer. I'm out.
No John Williams?
Done. Yeah, John Williams is up there.
I'm trying to go deeper, guys. You guys pick all the starters. I'm going with the bench.
I went with the deep cuts, like Danny.
Yeah, Elfman. Hans Zimmer is the deep cut.
Well, he's already a given. The Clippers are using him, and he did The Dark Knight. What else do you need? I think he did Legends of the Fall too.
It's gonna be a good time. All right, I think that about wraps everything up. I want to do a quick disclaimer for this season for Clippers fans. Let's just have fun. Let's just have fun.
Let's have some fun out there.
It's some of us don't think it's our. I'm not on team. It's our year. I'm team. We're going to be a high playing team. I know Will didn't mention seeding, But it's
Seeding doesn't matter in the playoffs, baby.
But it's gonna be a fun year. You're gonna be able to find some guys you like. Maybe Jordan Miller gets 5 minutes and shines. Maybe
I find a few guys you don't like.
Yeah. Oh, and you will with a roster like this for the Clippers. You're gonna find some guys you don't like, in terms of how they fit on the basketball court. Yeah. I mean, we need one positive thing from Adam Osland.
We got to find out how loud Intuit Dome's going to get, because I'm quite certain it's going to be full, and there's going to be a moment that generates a loud roar from the crowd. And it's already been loud in the preseason, guys. I'm telling you, it's 60, 70% full, maybe, probably not. I think they had 13,000 was one of the games. I forget if that was Dallas or Sacramento.
Okay.
It should be 18,000 or 17,500 or whatever it is, close to that. Close to max capacity, full capacity Wednesday night, and I can't wait to hear it.
There we go. Will, where can these people, now that basketball is back and people have things to talk about at work other than their jobs, where can people tell their coworkers, demand that their coworkers listen to this show?
Yeah, you should definitely drop the link in the Slack to youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. I'm sure your coworkers would love to hear about this. If you're not into the YouTube thing, if for whatever reason you don't want to enjoy the best version of this show, you can also enjoy it as audio only while you're driving your car or doing some aforementioned work wherever you get your podcast. If you happen to listen over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead, leave a little rating or review. We'd love to know what you think of the show. Also, there's a new thing on Spotify where you can comment. You can leave comments on per episode thing that I've been seeing. So leave us a couple of comments. We'd love to know what you think. But however you consume the show, we appreciate you. I love the people listening to this show, and we love making it. So thank you.
There we go. We will be back with Will and I are going to be driving back from the game. We'll probably be doing a stream after the game on the car ride home. So if y'all want to hang with that, maybe we'll be on Clippers Talk. I don't know. I don't pull the strings over there.
Well, we got a full Clippers Talk show now. The preseason's over. So who's coming on with me?
There we go. It'll be
depends. We know my rule. We know my rule, baby.
Yeah.
Only come on to win.
Damn it. Well, I hope I'm
going to be pre-booked this season.
I got about 65 things I have to do this season, regular season. We will be back with y'all this week. Clippers basketball is back. We are back to what our usual schedule is, which is around 3 episodes per week. Thanks for hanging out. And as always, let's go Clips.